Hi, I'm Justin Kirk, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this demon portal. Before we get started, I'd like to encourage you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The first 1,000 people who subscribe are going to get a free copy of the game. They're also going to get an exclusive spell card that you're otherwise not going to be able to get. So a spell card in my game, like you can see in the bottom left corner, we have this light card, for example, and you press R and it does like a spell. It would kill all the monsters in the room or something like that. I'm not sure what the spell card is going to be yet, but it's going to be something good. It won't be it'll be something that you're going to definitely want to have. But anyway, yeah, also for people that are not into tutorials, you can also follow my Instagram. If you're just trying to follow like the status of the game and like how the game is doing without watching any tutorials, you can follow that on my Instagram or my Twitter. I'm going to have both of those linked in the comments at the bottom, so if you want, you can check them out. But anyway, let's get started. So when you have Blender open, you could just delete the starting objects except for the cube. You could leave the cube. If you deleted it, just press Shift A, you can add another cube. Go into edit mode, so you could just tab into edit mode, then right click and click subdivide a bunch of times. And this is probably enough, just like that. And then at the top, click mesh, transform to sphere. When you do this, it will turn it into a sphere. Now, you don't want to just use an icosphere because this actually has quads, so that means squares. Whereas if you put a icosphere, I'll show you, it has triangles. So we don't want triangles, we want quads. So that's why we're using a square and conforming it to a circle instead of doing it the other way. So anyway, so after you have your sphere, go into sculpting mode. Press 3 on your keyboard so you get a side view. Click Y so that you're mirroring and symmetry. Just turn on Dynatopo, and then in the Dynatopo settings, change it to constant detail, and then just turn up the resolution to 20 or somewhere around 20, it doesn't matter. And then turn up the radius on, actually click on the snake hook tool, which is this on the left here. Then turn up the radius to like 150. And then you can just scroll over a little bit. And if you've done the mirror right, you should see a little yellow dot on both sides where it's gonna do, these are gonna be the horns essentially. So if you just drag up, that'll make horns for you. It's really that simple. This is not a very difficult sculpt at all. So you just drag up, and if you've done this correctly, it will just make horns. You can already see how this kind of looks like the demon. And then we just want to turn the radius down a lot, and then we need to cut holes where the eyes are going to be. You could do this using clay strips probably. I'm just going to give this a go. I think this took me a little while to perfect on the last one. So press 3 again on your keyboard so you're perfectly straight looking at it. I think I might have been better off not going that deep. So really you want the top to be kind of flatter and the bottom to be more rounded. And let's just dig it a little deeper. Okay, so something like this is perfect. If you can't get it this good, just try to get it again until you get it. You can press Ctrl Z to undo if you've messed it up. It took me a little bit to do it the first time, but I just practiced this before recording the video, so obviously it's going to be perfect on the first time. Anyway, so after you get out of here, this is looking really good. Now, the problem with this is it's probably like a billion triangles, right? Because if you go into sculpting mode, you turn on Dynatopo, it makes like a lot of subdivisions in your mesh. So just go to the modifier properties here on the right, and then click decimate, wherever it is. Decimate. And then under decimate, just drag the ratio down so that it still looks good, but it's not completely ruined. So like maybe about there. And then when you're done that, you can right click and shade smooth, and this should make it back to smooth again. So after you've done this, you need to put eyes in his head, obviously. So just press Shift A on your keyboard, and we'll just create a UV sphere is actually fine for this. So just move it up, scale it down, press GX to move it forward, and then GY. So when you press G, it moves the object. When you press Y or X, it locks it on the axis. You can see the axis is in the top here. So GZ to move it downwards a little bit. And then we want to cut off the top of this eye. So let's just actually move it out from his head for now. We just want to scale it down just a little bit so that it fits perfectly. And I press 3 on my keyboard to get the side view again. So we really want this to be like more here. No, hang on. Yeah. Just like that. And then if you go into edit mode of the object, make sure you have all the vertices selected. If they're not selected, press A on your keyboard to select everything. And then go to mesh and click bisect. And we're just gonna make a cut in this. Like the angle of his eye is the cut, so do like that. And then at the bottom left here, there's a menu. So if you click this, click fill and then clear inner, that will get rid of that and it will cut away the eye so it's more flat. And then we just want to click A on your keyboard and just press G and then X. And then you can put it right into his head and just, we really want this to be touching the thing. And then we're going to go back into the thing and we're going to mesh the stuff around it so that it looks better. So we just want to scale this up a little bit and then you can press R to rotate it. Perfect. And then what we also want to do is duplicate this so that we have a copy on the other side. So if you press Shift D on your keyboard, it will make a duplicate copy of this. You can press Y on your keyboard to lock it to the Y axis and then just move it right over here. Then press RZ 120. Not 120, 180. I'm sorry, I'm 180. So then this will put an exact mirror copy over here, and then we just want to move it like further into the head or whatever. Actually, I think we just need to rotate it on the Z axis, maybe. Yeah, that's good. Okay, and then just move it so it's kind of touching so that it looks like this. So if you've done this correctly, this kind of looks good without us even adding the extra sculpting, but the sculpting will just help a little bit. So we just want to go back and shade these smooth so they're like smooth eyes, I guess, and then go back to sculpting and we just want to draw so that it's covering it. So in the layout, actually select this mesh. Don't select the eyes because we don't want to draw on the eyes right now. And then go back to sculpting and you should be able to just like kind of like suck it into the eye, like try to make this flat as possible. Dynatopo turned itself off, that's why it's not good. Okay, so cool. And with Dynatopo on, you should get these nice little ridges around your eye. That's looking really blobby. Let's just go one smooth stroke like that now. I just want this to be like kind of smooth so it looks evil. As you can tell, I'm not really an expert Blender modeler. I'm kind of new to this. I just actually started doing this about 6 months ago. So after you've done this, you can just hold shift and kind of smooth it over. I mean, that's kind of perfect. Let's just smooth the bottom part only. And then we can leave this kind of like that. It would be ideal if the eyes were more slanted. So if you have the time, you could go back and just rotate both eyes to either side, like so that the top of the eye is lower and the bottom of the eye is higher, so they're more slanted. It'll make them look more evil. This is pretty much the gist of how I made this. Now, ideally, the next step for you would be to retopologize the mesh. So I'm not going to do that because that would make this video very, very long. But basically what that is you can create a new mesh over top of this mesh where you use a very, very small number of squares. Like I said, I'm not going to do that. You can Google that if you want to. And so just apply the decimate modifier, and that's going to be it for this. So this is going to be the big head on the top of the door. So just press G and Z to move this. Oh shit. Press A on your keyboard to select all the objects and press Ctrl J so that you join them together. And then press G and Z to move this directly upwards. So this is like the top part of the door. So if we go back into my game, this is like the big one on top. And then we're gonna have two little ones on the sides as well. So let's go back to Blender. So we're just gonna scale this up a little bit so it's bigger. And then we just want to Shift D again to make a duplicate copy of this and just lock it on the Y axis and then scale this one down a lot and then press GZ to move it down to about there. And then we want to just do Shift D again, and you can press Y and just move it like over here or something. Okay, so this is the basis of our door, right? So we've got the big demon head and then we've got the two small demon heads, and then we have like just cylinders attaching them together. So that's gonna be the next step. So we'll press Shift A on our keyboard, press mesh, and then a cylinder, and then just move this on the Y axis so it's like kind of under but don't make it directly under this one because we kind of want it to like go on an angle. So select all these, and I'm just going to move them up a little bit, and then we just want this to be a little bit smaller, so it needs to be on the ground. So if you press 3 on your keyboard, you get the side view, and if you press G and Z, you can move it directly upward so that it's flush with the ground. It's pretty important. And then you'll just scale this. So press S, and if you press Shift Z, that will lock it on both. So it won't scale it on the Z axis, but it will scale it on the other axes. So it will only scale it on X and Y. If you press Shift Z, it like scales on everything except for that axis. So then we're gonna just make this smaller, and then we're gonna scale the Z axis down actually a little bit so that it's like this. And then again, just make sure it's on the ground. So then at this point, we just wanna go into edit mode and then go to face select, which is this. If you press 3 on your keyboard, it will do the same thing. And then we just wanna press, so stay in side view, and then press E and then Z. And the goal is to move this up so that it eventually gets here. So we just want to maybe rotate this a little bit. So if you press R on your keyboard, if you've pressed 3 to go into the side view on your in your Blender, if you're in your side view, it will only go directly where you're looking. So it will like only go, it won't go like on the X-axis because you're on the side view, if that makes any sense. So then we just have to press E and Z again. Whoops, okay, yeah, like that. E and Z again. And then E and Z again. Perfect. Okay, so if you've done this correctly, you should have this. You could make it more rounded if you want. I spent longer doing this on the other one that I already made, but this is the gist of how I did this. If we look at this one, just go into the other view. Hang on. Bathroom doors. You can see this is more rounded, and I also scaled it as well, so I should show you that as well. Let me just press Control Z a bunch of times on this. So each thing, so the base of it was really big, so I took this and I scaled it a lot larger, like this, and then I click here and then extruded it. So E is extrude, and then you just, Z is the Z axis. Hang on, you have to be locked on this or else it will go like backwards and forwards. And then if you press S on your keyboard, you can scale it. So the bottom one should be the thickest one, and then it should get slightly thinner as it goes up and up. So E, Z, and then scale. And that might be too much of a difference. Let me just redo it again, hang on. So the base is too big. Just scale it like that. E. Okay, and if you so like this, it's not really rounded. So if you've already scaled it up and you want to like move some of these over, if you click on one of these lines, if you hold Alt and click, it will select the loop, and you can press G to grab it and move it. So we just want to do that for pretty much all of these because none of them are like in it. It should be rounded, right? So that's the goal. I'm just really bad at like, that's still not really straight. Hang on, look at my stupid cat. Hang on. Okay, so for some of these, if you want to scale them down a little bit more, like this one, oh my goodness. So you can press S and just scale it a little bit. And this one could also be scaled just a little bit downwards. And then, you know, just mess with this. I think it should still be more rounded. So like this should be like over more. And then this could be over more. All of these can be over more. And then this last one, oops, could be, okay, so Like I said, you press Alt and you can select the lines and it will select the entire loop and you can move it over like that. You can also scale it just by pressing S. And so just keep doing this until you get something that you really like. Then you can press A on your keyboard and then again Shift D to duplicate and then Y, because if you look at the top right, you can see that, oh, I can, yeah, right here, there's the axis that we're looking at is the Y axis. So anyway, we'll move this over here. And then we just want to RZ 180 and then press enter and then G to continue moving it and then click Y to lock it on the Y axis. So we just want these to be the same, so that's why we're duplicating it. And then we need to make another cylinder between the head. The head's like at the top here. So we'll just get out of edit mode and click Shift A again and go to the mesh and choose a cylinder, rotate this X90 and then scale it Shift Y probably. Yeah, Shift Y so that it only scales it on Z and X. And then just move this up into his head like this. And then rotate it and then R to rotate and then G. As long as you're looking at the side view, it won't go like backwards and forwards or anything like that. And then we just want to, the part that's connecting to the head should be bigger than the rest. So go into edit mode and you can press Alt Z on your keyboard to go into infrared, or not infrared, with see-through mode. For the life of me, I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, just select this end face of it. So Alt Z to go into transparency mode and then just go into face select and select this end face and just scale this bigger. And then we just want to take this face and move it a little bit. Oh shit, we did that without being in the side view. Okay. Like this maybe. And then we'll scale this up a little bit and then we'll E. And then we can just put it right to here and then scale this down. That's perfect. Press A again on your keyboard, Shift D, and then Y again, and then RZ 180, and then GY, so that it makes sense. Okay, so now go back to object mode, and then press Alt Z to get out of the transparency mode, and then select everything with A, and then, oh, this still doesn't look the greatest. So in my original one, the gap between the heads was a lot less, and I used a thicker thing. I'm not going to spend the time to do that, but you can if you want to. So basically, just move the heads closer together. It's still cylinders between it. You just have to change the size. So like, there we go. Yeah, so make the heads closer to the thing. I'm not going to bother doing that because I've already made this and I'm already using the object in my game. But basically, you just take the demon heads and put them a little bit closer, and you can make these cylinders a little bit rounder, and then these could be closer together because this is like pretty large for a portal. But anyway, this is the gist of how I made it. You got to make your own demon portal. It's not going to turn out the same way every single time you do it. And, you know, like when I work on an asset for my game, I could spend 10 hours on this one asset before I get it perfect. So this is the gist of how I made it. But the actual one that I put in my game, I spent a lot longer than this actually making it. So then the last thing we want to do is just select everything, press Control J on your keyboard, and then go to UV editing. And then just select everything with A. And you can see that everything's kind of on top of each other. You can just go ahead and press U and then Smart UV Project, and we'll just cross our fingers that this works properly. Yeah, that's better than nothing. So Smart UV Project will try to make the best out of it. UVs are how your material is drawn on your thing. So if you use custom materials inside of Unity, like a shader graph or something like that to make your demon head cooler or something like that, you'll have to do this. Otherwise, it won't work properly. So anyway, yeah, so that's fine. I mean, we're not going to spend too much time on that. So then the next thing we need to do is we need to select, so go to edit mode again. We need to put materials onto this. Oh, we also didn't add the spikes. So let's add the spikes first. So if we go on one of the sides here, we can press Control R to add a loop cut into it and just do this twice. And then if you select this middle vertice, so go into vertice select one of these middle vertices, you can just go ahead and press delete. But instead of deleting it, just click dissolve. What dissolve does is instead of like deleting it and leaving a hole, it will try to connect the things that are around it instead. So then what we can do is dots around, or vertices around this, and then you can go mesh, transform to sphere to kind of make them more circular, like that. And then you can press, let's turn on auto mirror for this actually, so let's undo this for now. So if we select everything and we go to this thing here and you go to edit mode, if you don't have auto mirror here, if you go to file, add-ons, or edit, preferences, and then add-ons, you can just search for auto mirror and just turn it on, like enable it. Okay, let's turn this off. Let's go to object mode and we'll press Control A on the keyboard and apply all the transforms. And then let's just try this again after applying the transform. So let's just actually do this here. Let's do, it should be Y, because that's what we used in the UV editing. That's looking better. So now we can go into edit mode. Okay. Shit, that's forever. Okay, so now that we have the mirror on, anything we do on this side will apply to the other side. So we've already cut this side into, I think, like that we left the loop cuts. So we just need to, oh, this is like this though. So we'll go into object mode, apply all the transforms, auto mirror. So now that mirroring is on, we can go to edit mode. And when we edit something, okay. Wow, I wonder how that messed up so bad. Anyway. Okay, so we just need to, so we should still have those loop cuts. So we need to dissolve this middle vertice again. So I think this one will be fine. So just press delete, dissolve vertices, and then go to face select, or select all the points around this, and then go mesh, transform to sphere, and just move it like this. You could actually even subdivide this so that you have more vertices for it to turn into a sphere. So let's press Ctrl Z and back to a rectangle, and then click subdivide first, and then click mesh, transform to sphere. That's fine. And then, so from this angle, like if you press 3, we just want to select this face and press E on your keyboard. If you press Z, it will move, it'll allow you to move it like up and down, like it will unlock it. And then click somewhere about here, and then press S to scale it down a little bit, and then press R to rotate it so it's pointing upwards a little bit, and then E again and Z so that it goes up like this, and then scale it down to a point. Now make sure you don't go too far. If you go past a point, like if you go further, it will invert the normals, and then you won't be able, you'll be able to see the inside of the object as the outside. So make sure you don't go past a point here. If you're not sure if you've done that, if you click this little drop down at the top, you can click face orientation. The blue faces are the faces that are on the outside. If you did go past a point, like if you do this, you'll see everything go kind of red. So obviously don't do that. You won't really notice, like if you're new to Blender, you won't notice that, and then you'll get into your game and you'll wonder why your stuff is not applying on the outside. Okay, so then you just need to make some more spikes. So needs to be like another one like right in the middle here. So we just want to do Control R again. And then in the middle here, just like the same kind of spot if possible. So if we go up from where the edge is, like right here, it looks like we need to join these together. So if you click these, you can press F to fill the gap. Now that's still not really it. So let's press K for the knife tool and cut this so that we have a line here. And then we just want to take this vertex here and dissolve it. And then we want to do the same thing where we select these. Now I'm holding Control to select multiples at once. Control will select the closest path to something. And then we're just going to conform this to a sphere. I don't think subdividing did anything last time, so I'm not going to bother with that. So we'll just do like that, and then scale it on the Z axis. No, scale. Yeah, just scale without actually clicking Z, and then just make it a little bit smaller. And then if you press 3, you can press E and Z, the same kind of thing, and then scale it down a lot, rotate it, and then you could press G to move it again, and then press E and Z to move this one up like this, and then scale it down to a point like that. And then we just need one last one at the top here, and then that's gonna be it for this. So we can just put this like here, and then like here, press enter. Same kind of thing where we delete the middle vertice. And then we will, I wonder if you can just conform a face to a sphere, transform to sphere. Yeah, you can, that's perfect. And then we will do the same kind of thing where, 3, and then E, Z, R, shit, what did I do? E, Z to move it like this, rotate it so it's facing a little bit more up, and then E, and Z again, and then you can scale it, and this will be our last point. Okay, so the other thing you could do theoretically is you could make these so that they're all not directly beside it. I think in my actual game, some of them are like not directly straight. Now, this is a dynamically generated room that it's in, so you can't really see all of the portal, but not all of these are directly straight out. Some of them are like further, like this isn't directly in line with it. It's a little bit backwards, and all of them are different on that regard, so you can mess around with that if you want to. Like if you want the point to come kind of backwards like this, that might be kind of cool. Not all of them have to do that either. You could like have them like going either which way. It doesn't really matter, right? So after you've got that set up, this is actually looking pretty good. So this is how I made the mesh. This is the hard part of the Demon Portal. Then all you have to do from this point is you have to export it and import it into Unity. So what we'll do is we'll apply the transforms again. Oh, we have to apply a material as well. So go back into edit mode, press L while hovering over the face, and press L while hovering over this face too. And then let's go into the material option, and we'll create a new material here. We'll just call this Demon Head, and don't add a capital there by accident. Change the color to red. You can change the color in Unity, so don't worry about getting the colors perfect here because it changes in Unity anyway. So make this red, and then we just want to click Z on our keyboard and material preview so we're able to see what we've done. And then click L on top of the eye, and click it on the other eye, and then click on this eye too. And then we're just going to change this to a yellow color, so click plus again, and just call this one Demon Eye. Demon Eyes, okay. And then just change this to like a yellow, and you have to click assign. And then for the rest of it, I think, what color did I use? Oh, the rest of it's red as well, but I think it's a different shade of red, so let's just make it a different shade in here. If you don't set the materials different in this, you won't be able to change it in Unity, so you have to set the materials here, and then you can change them to other materials when you're in Unity. So just click L on all of this like stuff, and then we'll just click a new material and call this the default material, and that's good. And it can be also red like that. All right, perfect. So now that we're done with this, go back to object mode again, apply the transforms just to make sure, like double check that they're applied because this affects everything, and then press file, export FBX file, and then just make sure you save this somewhere where you're going to be able to find it. So the scaling needs to be FBX unit scale. The forward in my game is -Z forward. So if you look inside of my game, this is the Z axis. So I want the portal to be facing towards me, right? So you can see the axis in the top here. So this is Z going this way, but I want it to face this way. So I want it to be towards my character. So it needs to be -Z forward, and Y is up. So like, make sure it matches your game. The forward is really hard. Like if you don't do this properly, you can have to mess with it a lot to make it work. So yeah, you can do that, and then that's it. So just name it like Demon Gate or something cool, right? And then export it. Okay, so then in Unity, I'm just gonna find my tutorial folder. I don't know if I need any of this stuff anymore. I'm just gonna use the same tutorial folder that I already have. So just drag your demon gate into here. And then when you do that, you can drag it, and let me just get out of the game, hang on. So you can just drag it into your scene. And then if you double click on it, it should zoom in on it. So this looks like it started facing left because it's -90 here. So just change this to 0. Or oh, weird. I wonder why I did that. But anyway, so we just need to, for my game, I have a really big scale. Yours is probably going to be a normal size when you drag it in, but my scale is massive, so don't worry about that. I'm just going to make this 5 by 5 by 5. All right, so there it is. That's how I made the demon gate. So then we just need to right click this and click prefab, unpack completely. And then I've made this VFX graph called Boss Portal VFX. I'm just gonna drop that in there. So this will be flush with the ground. So part of the portal is gonna be under the ground, so you won't actually be able to see that part. And then I'm just gonna show you the graph. So to make a VFX graph, all you have to do is you right click in the bottom area, click create, and then visual effects graph right here. Now, if you're not seeing this when you go into this menu, all you have to do is go to the package manager, and then at the top, you can type in visual effects graph. So change it to Unity registry instead of my assets, and then visual. So if this isn't enabled, at the bottom right here, you'll have an add button, and you could just click add and you'll be able to add it like that. And then I'm going to show you the visual effects graph. So let's go into it and we'll click edit. So after you add it here at the bottom, so you'll click create visual effects graph. You can drag it from the bottom into the scene. And then after you do that, you can double click on it to zoom in on it. And then you need to make it like this. And I'm just going to show you, and I'll walk through what all the things do. So it's spawning 3,000 particles per second. The lifetime of the particle, so how long each particle lasts, is between 1 and 3 seconds. The size of each particle is between 0.1 and 1 for the sizing. The scale is set 1x, 0 and 0 for y and z. So this is adding scale. So make sure to add these things, if you're missing them, you just press space on your keyboard, and then you type in the name of it. So like add scale, for example, you can just add scale like this. Now I obviously already have this one, so we'll just go ahead and delete it. You have to put them in the respective spots that I have them. So after we've added the scale, we're setting the position to a sphere, obviously, because it's a circle, right? We want it to be in a circle. So then I added this over here as well. So we are getting the position where it is in the sphere, and we've created a variable up here by clicking plus and clicking vector 3 down here. And I've set this to 0.2, so this is the speed in which it's turning. So 0.2 in the x-axis, 0 in y, 0 z. So cross product is just a multiplication, so we're just adding these two together. And then we're multiplying this by a random number for how fast it's gonna go, and then we're setting the velocity to that. So again, like I said, you just press spacebar to add something, and then you can drag this into the other thing. So you just have to add each of these nodes, and then you'll eventually drag it into a set velocity node that you add. So you just click space on your keyboard, and you can click set velocity. So this is set and not add. So it's important to also note that you're using the right thing. So if you click add velocity, that's not the same as set velocity. If you set the velocity and you've already set velocity up here, this will overwrite it, whereas adding velocity or multiplying the velocity will obviously add or multiply the velocity instead. It makes a big difference. So then we're adding a pivot to this as well, or a pivot, I guess. And we're just setting it to -10 in the y-axis. And then I've drawn this particle that I'm using. So if we look at the shader graph, this is a particle that's hand drawn. So the output is this particle, the blend mode is alpha, orient along velocity, the angle is 100 in the z-axis. So this, if we change this to 1 and save it, you can see that the angle is like the direction that it's going. it's easier to see like that. But anyway, let's just change this back to 3000 so it looks better. So I'm just going to show you how I drew this. Oh, also I set the color of it. So I set the color to a random between red and black. So again, to add any of these things, you just press space and type in the name of it, and then you just copy the properties that I'm showing you. Most of this stuff is like, you can just read it. It's basic like common sense how it's working. So like setting the color sets the color, adding the angle changes the angle of it. Like I'm not going to explain kind of what that's doing. The only thing that's really confusing, I guess, would be cross product, which is kind of like multiplication or like blending, I guess. But everything else is pretty common sense. You need to make sure the capacity is set pretty high as well. So I think I set this to 1,000,000 because you're doing 3000 a second. So if you don't have this high enough, then like it will keep flashing and we'll do like a flickering effect. So anyway, I'm just gonna go and find this in my thing. So let's click on this. So this is the test particle that I drew. So let's go ahead and open this. So this is the drawing. I drew this in Autodesk Sketchpad or Sketchbook. So to draw this, all you have to do is download Sketchbook. It's completely free. All this software that I'm using is completely free. It doesn't cost any money. So change the image size to a square. So turn off key proportions, and you can do 1000 by 1000 if you want to, or whatever. It just has to be a square. So the smaller it is, the less detail you can obviously have. Change the background to be black, like this. So this is the layer editor. If you don't see this stuff, if you go to the window, you can turn on all this stuff if you're not seeing something. So the layer editor allows you to add something to this, and then when we're done, we can turn off the background so that the background will be transparent. And then I just used one of these pre-made brushes. So I think it's probably this one, yeah. So I just did this, changed the color to white, and you just make a circle. You can change how dark the circle is by dragging this thing. So like the opacity and the luminance can be changed there. You can change the size of the brush by pressing the square bracket keys. And yeah, just like, let me just see the picture. So I did this, and then after I was done this, I used the glow brush, which is this one. If you don't see that, I think I favorited this brush, so if you don't see it, you just have to scroll down until you find it. It's in here somewhere. But anyway, then I just made it glowy in the middle, and like obviously spend more time doing this. I also have a drawing tablet that I used to draw this. So obviously I'm not using that right now because I'm just recording the video, but in my actual drawing that I did, I used the drawing tablet. That's why it ended up a lot better than this image is. But like, it's not like I did because there's so many of these particles. You don't really need to worry about it being perfect or anything. You just need to make it as close as possible to this. So this is too glowy, so just turn this down a lot. Just have there a dot in the middle is good, and then just slightly less and less as it goes around, like that. That's perfect. That's probably even better than the drawing I did on the drawing tablet, to be honest. But that's all I did to draw this, and then you can use that particle in the texture slot for the output particle quad, and then that's it. That's all I did to make the portal. So yeah, I mean, when you put this on the ground, like if I enable the floor, let me do that. Let me just close this and I'll enable the floor. I have all that stuff turned off by default. You can see because the floor is there, it blocks the bottom circular part of the portal. It would obviously be more difficult if we had to create a straight line there. We'd have to do something else to make it like that. Maybe cut it off somehow. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Like I said at the beginning, make sure you like and subscribe. The first 1,000 subscribers are going to get the game for free and a unique spell card. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.